Now, as we begin our exploration here, I encourage you to relax and make yourselves comfortable because this is not just a webinar. We are going to have a normal conversation, an engaging conversation here, a gathering of curious minds seeking to unravel the mysteries of the cosmos. So, feel free to engage, ask any sorts of questions that you might have, and travel through the webinar realms of this webinar. Our agenda today is really ambitious yet exhilarating at the same time. We'll start laying the foundation, delving into the historical milestones of the lunar exploration and the renewed interest in returning to the moon. From there, we'll venture into the diverse range of resources awaiting us on the lunar surface, like metals, rare earth metals, and the tantalizing promise of helium 3. But our exploration doesn't end there. We'll discuss the societal benefits, the economic opportunities, and the technological advancements that await us as we establish a sustainable human presence on our celestial neighbor. But above all, this webinar is a call to action, a call to inspire further discussion, exploration, and collaboration within the broader space exploration communities. So let's dive in, let's explore, and let's dare to dream of a future where the moon is not just a destination but a home for all of us. Welcome once again to this exhilarating journey of discovery. Let's first start with the term sustainability. We've all heard about this since we were in, I think, middle school. What sustainability means and what does we refer to it as in our syllabus and our chapters. But here we'll dive deep. We'll dive deep into the concept of what sustainability is bandied about, and the essence lies in ensuring that our present actions do not compromise the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. In the context of lunar activity, particularly lunar exploration, sustainability encompasses the imperative to utilize outer space for peaceful purposes and socio-economic benefit, both presently and in the long term. Now, drawing from established theories, lunar sustainability mandates that current lunar endeavors, be they commercial ventures or scientific pursuits, must not impede future exploration nor inflict undue harm, which we humans are very much famous for. Central to any policy framework for lunar sustainability is the delineation of the acceptable harm within the realm of lunar colonization and the determination of the arbiters of such decisions. Moving forward with lunar colonization, um, that's something more or less I believe that every Indian has an unofficial sort of PhD in. We are all aware of what colonization means. Throughout history, it has been both a triumph of human ingenuity and a source of controversy. It's often been driven by a desire for exploration, expansion, and the pursuit of resources, but isn't without its complexities. It often entails the displacement of indigenous peoples, the exploitation of natural resources, and the new imposition of foreign cultures and systems. When we turn our gaze to lunar colonization, we are entering totally uncharted territory, like quite literally. So the moon represents a new frontier, a blank canvas upon which we can project our hopes, dreams, and aspirations for the future. But unlike previous colonization efforts, lunar colonization offers a unique opportunity to approach the endeavor with a great sense of mindfulness and responsibility. This is because you see, the moon isn't just another piece of land to be conquered or exploited. It's a celestial body with its ecosystem, its own resources, and the mystery waiting to be uncovered. And as we set our sights on establishing a sustainable presence on the moon, we are faced with a new set of challenges and considerations. So, in this broader context, sustainable lunar colonization would represent a significant milestone in humanity's ongoing research and journey into the space. By establishing a sustainable presence on the moon, we not only gain access to valuable resources, but also create a platform for scientific research, technological innovations, and so on. To appreciate the significance of embedding sustainability in lunar exploration policies, let's reflect on the historical treaties and agreements that have shaped our approach to space exploration. We must have all heard about the infamous Outer Space Treaty that was proposed in 1967. Like, for instance, established the principles of peaceful use of non-appropriation of outer space, laying the foundation for international cooperation in space exploration. And similarly, the Moon Agreement of 1979 sought to regulate the lunar activities and promote the common heritage of mankind. What are the key principles that underpin sustainable lunar exploration policy? Like, what do we need to keep in mind when we are creating these lunar exploration policies? Firstly, we must adhere to the principle of planetary protection, because that comes first and foremost, ensuring that our activities do not harm potential extraterrestrial life that might be present on the surface of the moon or contaminate the celestial bodies. Secondly, we must promote transparency and accountability in space activities, fostering trust and cooperation among stakeholders. And thirdly, and most importantly, prioritizing the equitable distribution of space resources, like balancing the needs of present and future generation, becomes utmost important. So, like, the implementation of these kinds of lunar policy was seen in Artemis Accords, in like which was implemented by NASA in 2020. These accords outlined a series of principles for responsible lunar exploration, and including the peaceful use of outer space, the extraction and utilization of space resources, and the protection of heritage sites and artifacts on the moon. By endorsing these principles, signatory nations committed to uphold the sustainable practices in their lunar activities came forward. Now, international partnerships such as those established through the International Space Station ISS program, which you might be aware of, demonstrated the power of collective action in advancing scientific knowledge and technological innovation. So, by leveraging the expertise and resources of multiple nations, we can address common challenges and achieve a shared goal in lunar exploration. Moving forward to the historical milestones, which becomes one of the most important part of the lunar exploration arena, is that there have been significant milestones that have we have achieved over the last few decades. One of the earliest milestones would be the Soviet Union's lunar program, and which launched a series of robotic missions to the moon in the late 1950s and the early 1960s. Uh, they achieved several firsts in this arena, which were included of the first successful flyby of the moon in 1959 and the first soft landing on the lunar surface, I think, in 1966. However, it was the United States' infamous Apollo program that captured the world's imagination and culminated in the historic Apollo 11 mission in 1969, when astronauts, which we have all heard of, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, became the first human to set foot on the lunar surface. This iconic achievement marked a significant turning point in human history and demonstrated the technological prowess and determination of the United States in the space race against the Soviet Union. Following the Apollo missions, interest in lunar exploration waned, and human spaceflight focused primarily on low Earth orbit missions such as the Space Shuttle program and the International Space Station. However, India made its entry into the lunar space exploration in 2008 with the most successful launch of Chandrayaan 1 mission. Although the mission faced challenges and ended prematurely, it made the history by discovering the presence of water in the southern poles for the first time. And this groundbreaking discovery highlighted the potential of the moon as a resource rich destination for future exploration and paved the way for India's continued involvement in lunar exploration. We cannot forget about Chandrayaan 3, the most infamous exploration that was launched on August 20, that landed on the southern pole of the moon on August 23, 2023. And it was responsible for discovering a lot of elements that were found on the southern pole, like silicates, oxygen, helium, and other elements as well. And also discovering that there were ice water craters present on the southern side. Vikram experienced a hard landing, and the orbiter continues to provide a valuable data from the moon's composition and environment from the place that it had landed uh, 8 months ago. In addition to this, let's shift our focus to the potential of lunar colonization. The composition here first composes of several metals, as you can see here. So we can see the percentage by which they are present on the moon, which were discovered through the past milestones that had discovered the elements present on the surface of the moon. Some historical potential of the lunar colonization would include scientific discovery. The colonizing the moon will enable scientists to conduct long-term research and exploration, and by studying lunar samples, conducting experiments, and deploying advanced instruments, we can gain deeper insights into the formation of the solar system and the history of the planet. Space environment studies. The moon provides a unique laboratory for studying the space environment and its effect on the human health and technology. By conducting experiments in lunar habitats, researchers can better understand the challenges of long duration space flights, radiation exposure, and the development of countermeasures to mitigate these risks. Colonizing the moon can also happen or advance our research for extraterrestrial life and habitable environments beyond the Earth. So, by studying lunar caves, lunar lava tubes, and polar regions, scientists can assess the potential for microbial life and investigate the prospects for human settlement on other celestial bodies as well. Moving forward to the economic growth perspectives, we have all known that the moon is rich in valuable resources such as water, ice, rare metals, and helium 3, as we have suggested before. So, by developing techniques for extracting and utilizing these resources, lunar colonization can create new opportunities for economic growth and industrial development. Uh, Companies can also offer lunar vacations, mining operations, and research facilities, generating revenue and simulating innovation in space related technologies. And by pooling the resources, expertise, and funding, countries can share the cost and risk of lunar missions, accelerating scientific progress and foster diplomatic relations for peaceful exploration and discovery. Now, the expansion of human civilization has been always a thing that has been explored to the most. So, imagine a society where you call the moon as your home. For example, colonizing the moon will represent a critical step towards establishing a multi-planetary society where humans inhabit and thrive on celestial bodies beyond Earth. So, by building sustainable habitats and infrastructure, we can create a blueprint for future colonization efforts on Mars, asteroids, and few other destinations in the solar system. Along with that, establishing the human presence on the moon enhances our resilience as a species by reducing the risk associated with planetary disasters, asteroid impacts, and environmental degradation on the Earth. By diversifying our habitats and spreading across multiple worlds, we ensure the long term survival and prosperity of humanity. And the lunar colonization would inspire future generations to dream big, explore new frontiers, and push the boundaries of human achievement. So, by demonstrating the feasibility of living and working in space, we ignite a sense of wonder and curiosity that motivates individuals to pursue careers in science, technology, engineering, and mathematic fields, driving innovation and progress for generations to come forward. Now, let's talk about the resources available on the moon. The abundance of resources awaiting us on the moon are never ending. So, because it's a rich in variety of metals and minerals, including iron, titanium, aluminium, and other metals similar to this that hold immense potential for use in construction, manufacturing, and industrial processes. Iron and titanium, for example, can be extracted from lunar regolith, the loose soil over the surface of the moon, and used to build habitats, infrastructure, and spacecraft components. It is also thought to contain deposits of the rare earth elements like neodymium, as I've mentioned in the slide, dysprosium, and yttrium, which are critical for various high tech applications such as electronics, telecommunication, and renewable energy resources. Now, one of the most intriguing resources of the moon, and this is my favorite one, is helium 3, a rare isotope of helium that is believed to be abundant on the surface of the moon. Now, helium 3 has the potential to serve as a fuel for nuclear fusion reactors, offering a clean and virtually limitless source of energy, which could revolutionize energy production and address global energy needs in the future. Now, as we've mentioned before, Chandrayaan 3 and Chandrayaan 1 made the discovery of the presence of water ice in permanently shadowed craters near the lunar poles. So, apart from being a sustainable and vital resource for sustaining human life, it can also be split into hydrogen and oxygen through electrolysis, producing the propellant for rockets. So, lunar regolith, the layer of loose soil covering the moon's surface, containing a wealth of valuable materials, including silicates, which can be processed into glass, ceramics, and building materials. Regolith can also be used for radiation shielding, thermal insulation, and 3D printing application, making it a versatile resource for lunar construction projects. Moving forward, let's focus on the strategic importance of one of the most demanded resources found on the moon, and that is water. Now, water is a fundamental requirement for sustaining human life, providing hydration for astronauts, and supporting agricultural activities as well. By establishing a sustainable lunar outpost or leveraging lunar water resources, astronauts can reduce the dependencies on Earth for essential supplies, enabling long duration missions. Water is also a valuable resource for producing rocket propellant through a process called rocket electrolysis, which splits water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen. And by extracting and processing lunar water ice, future space missions can refuel and resupply spacecraft in lunar orbit or on the surface of the moon, significantly reducing the cost and complexity of deep space exploration. So, establishing a sustainable infrastructure for moon extraction and water extraction on the moon and propellant production on the moon can create a gateway to the solar system, enabling expeditions to Mars, asteroids, and other celestial bodies. Lunar water resources can serve as a refueling station for spacecraft, like a petrol pump for spacecrafts departing on long duration missions, extending their range and capabilities and facilitating the human exploration of the cosmos. Now, we'll see the discoveries of water ice on the moon surface. Like we have mentioned before, over the past decade, multiple spacecraft missions were introduced, including NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter (LRO), which is known as LRO, and India's Chandrayaan 1, have provided compelling evidence of water ice deposits in permanently shadowed regions near the lunar poles. In 2018, NASA's LRO detected signatures of water ice on the moon surface using its Lyman Alpha Mapping Project, the LAM project, an instrument confirming the presence of significant quantities of water in lunar polar regions. And then India's Chandrayaan 3 mission, which successfully soft landed on the moon's south pole on August 23, demonstrated the capability to safely land and move around the surface of the moon and to explore the moon's south polar region, which is rich in water ice. About 2.06 tons of lunar epiregolith were ejected and displaced over an area of 108.4 meters square around the landing site, and the presence of sulfur on the lunar surface and oxygen, iron, and silicon were also identified. Now, we can focus on the lunar habitat design. First, we'll see the environmental stability. So, we are all aware of what environmental stability means. Like, we are going to discuss the majority of lunar habitat design, the renewable energy resources, and how to minimize the ecological instability of the environment under this subheading. So, the lunar habitat design will focus on the sustainable principles that are crucial for ensuring the long term viability and resilience of lunar settlements, emphasizing resource efficiency, energy conservation, and so on. So, the lunar settlements should keep some key points in their mind, like when we are establishing them. They can be like they should also use renewable sources of energy and be completely self-sufficient. Additionally, they should be designed to be resilient to space hazards such as micrometeoroids, and they must be engineered to withstand the harsh lunar environments, which are to the extremes. Like it is like almost 273 degrees centigrade during the day, and minus 273 degree or 217 degree during the night. So it should be able to withstand the harsh lunar environment, incorporate lightweight yet durable materials, advanced insulations, and radiation shielding to protect the inhabitants from cosmic radiation, extreme temperatures, and micrometeoroid impacts. Before we delve deeper into this topic, let's talk about what renewable energy also means. So, we should establish a foundational understanding of what renewable energy is. Now, in the context of space exploration, the utilization of the renewable energy offers a clean, abundant, and sustainable alternative to traditional power resources. The deployment of renewable energy infrastructure holds immense significance for space exploration endeavors, from powering spacecraft and habitats to supporting scientific research and resource utilization. Renewable energy technologies will play a pivotal role in enabling long duration missions and sustained human presence beyond the Earth. So, a comprehensive renewable energy infrastructure will encompass a diverse array of technologies and systems. So, they might include solar power generation, solar sails, nuclear power systems, regenerative fuel cells. Now, what do we mean by solar sails? The solar sails will utilize the pressure of sunlight, solar, and enable propulsion and trajectory adjustments for spacecrafts, offering a cost-effective and fuel-efficient means of interplanetary travel. And similarly, under the nuclear power system, the radioisotope thermoelectric generators and nuclear reactors offer high energy density power sources for mission operating in low sunlight environments or distant regions of space. Regenerative fuel cells work similarly through the electrolysis of water, as we have discussed before, and using the renewable energy sources produces hydrogen and oxygen for fuel cells, supporting life support systems and propulsion mechanisms. Similarly, it also provides various advantages over other energy resources such as reliability, sustainability, cost effectiveness, and versatility, from enhancing mission flexibility and resilience from planetary surfaces to deep space missions. Now, despite the numerous benefits, there are always some sort of disadvantages that comes along with every kind of energy source. So they could be technological complexity, because developing and deploying renewable energy resources to that kind of an extreme environment would be very much difficult, since these technological machineries are sophisticated and need require engineering expertise regularly, and they might pose challenges in system design, integration, and operation. Similarly, the harsh space conditions, including radiation exposure, temperature extremes, and micrometeoroid impacts, present operational challenges for renewable energy infrastructure, necessitating robust design and protective measures. Along with that, although they offer long-term cost savings, initial investment and development expenses might pose financial barriers for space agencies and mission planners. So they need a lot of amount and of expenses needs to be allocated to this and resource management. Let's move forward to closed loop life support system, which is the base, which forms the base of these renewable energy resources. So before we delve into the specifics, let's establish a foundational understanding of what this means. In essence, these systems are designed to mimic the Earth's natural life cycle, like recycling of air, water, and nutrients, to create a self-sustaining environment for astronauts to live in space. By closing the loop on essential resources, we can minimize reliance and resupply emissions from Earth and enable long duration space missions. A typical closed loop life support system consists of several interconnected components, which I'll get into in near future, each playing a crucial role in maintaining environmental conditions suitable for human habitation. Now, these may include atmosphere revitalization systems to remove carbon dioxide and replenish the oxygen levels and also cause air filtration, water recycling systems to purify and recycle wastewater for drinking and hygiene, food production systems to cultivate crops and generate nutritious food supplies, waste management system to process and recycle solid and liquid waste products, and last but not the least, integrated and redundancy, because all these systems need to be integrated in a single charted environment. So we need to integrate and reduce the redundancy of all these machineries on this closed loop life support system. A case study of this would be the International Space Station. The International Space Station serves as an example of what a closed loop life support system in action is. Like, through a combination of advanced technologies and collaborative efforts, the ISS sustains human life in the harsh environment of space for extended periods of time. Like, for air purification to water recycling, the ISS demonstrates the viability of closed loop life systems in supporting human habitation beyond the Earth. So the adoption of closed loop life support systems offers numerous advantages, like and complexity of space missions, like they reduce the dependency on Earth-based resources, lowering the cost and complexity of space missions, and enhance crew safety and resilience by minimizing the risk of resource depletion. Environmental sustainability will also be increased by minimizing waste generation and ecological impact on celestial bodies, and facilitation of long duration missions to distant destinations such as Mars or even beyond. So, despite their potential benefits, closed loop life support systems also present significant disadvantages, and that may include technical complexity and reliability issues associated with integrating multiple subsystems into a cohesive system, energy requirements for operating life support equipment and maintaining environmental conditions, limited scalability and adaptability to varying mission parameters and environmental conditions, and regulatory and ethical consideration surrounding human health and safety in closed loop environments. Now, this is one of the most important aspects of space exploration, and that is the global or international collaboration. So, the global collaboration and space collaboration has become increasingly prevalent, with international organizations and space agencies, private companies, and even academic institutions coming together and joining forces to advance lunar exploration efforts. So, here's an overview of the collaborative efforts in this realm. Leading space agencies such as NASA of United States, ESA or the European Space Agency of Europe, Roscosmos of Russia, CNSA or the China National Space Agency or Administration of China and ISRO of India have been actively collaborating on lunar exploration missions. Initiative like NASA's Artemis program aims to return astronauts to the moon by 2024, with plans for a sustained lunar exploration and the establishment of a lunar outpost. And similarly, the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter of 2018, a NASA mission launched in collaboration with the international partners, has been mapping the lunar surface and studying the composition since much before. Future missions such as ESA's Lunar Resource Prospector, it is just a future mission that they have planned out, and the Roscosmos Program, another program that has already been planned and is in action right now, aim to further our understanding of lunar geology and the resource utilization, like what is available on the surface of the moon apart from what we have already discovered. So, collaboration between government space agencies and private companies has also become another important aspect that needs to be discussed when we go to international collaboration. Commercial space companies, which you must be aware of, are like SpaceX, Blue Origin, and Astrobotic, are developing lunar landers, rovers, and other technologies to support government led missions and commercial ventures. So, NASA's Commercial Lunar Payload Service (CLPS) initiative, for example, contracts private companies to deliver scientific instruments and payloads to the lunar surface. Initiatives like NASA's Artemis program and the European Space Agency concept represent significant milestone in the global effort to establish a sustainable human presence on the moon. So we'll delve into each of these initiatives. We have all heard about the NASA's Artemis program, which was named after the Greek goddess of moon, Artemis, and it aims to return astronauts to the lunar surface by 2024, including the first woman and the next man. Now, building on the legacy of the Apollo missions, the Artemis seeks to establish a sustainable lunar exploration system to enable long term human presence on the moon. And the key objectives of this program would include landing astronauts at the lunar South Pole, conducting scientific research, demonstrating new technologies, and preparing for future missions to Mars. Now, Artemis will also leverage international partnerships, commercial innovations, and advanced spacecraft capabilities to achieve its objectives and pave the way for future deep space exploration. European Space Agency's Moon Village concept. This is one of the most prominent agency or the concept that has been initiated by the European Space Agency or the ESA, and it has been working and thriving alongside this concept for quite a lot of time right now. It organizes regular sessions and webinars and panel discussions on the concept of how can we work on the climate action and how can we move forward in this space of lunar space exploration. And it envisions the establishment of a permanent human presence on the moon through international collaboration and cooperation. So, unlike traditional lunar exploration programs focused on individual missions, the Moon Village concept emphasizes the creation of a shared infrastructure and habitat for sustained human activity. So, the concept envisions a collaborative framework where multiple countries, space agencies, and scientific researchers and commercial entities contribute resources and expertise to build and operate lunar infrastructure. The Moon Village also promotes the peaceful and sustainable exploration of the moon, fostering scientific research, technology development, economic opportunities for participating nations and organizations. And it initiates the catalyzing international cooperation in lunar exploration, driving innovation, inspiring future generations, and so on. Now, along with this, there is another thing that we need to discuss here is international cooperation. Now, what does it mean to say when we say that international cooperation becomes crucial here? So, it plays a crucial role in developing a shared framework and agreement for governing the lunar activities and ensuring responsible and sustained exploration of the moon. And here's why we need to do this, because it is a shared responsibility among all of us. The exploration and utilization of space resources, including the moon, require collective action and cooperation among all the nations to address common challenges and achieve common goals. Another thing is that the legal and regulatory framework also needs to be considered here. So the collaborative efforts are needed to establish legal and regulatory framework that govern the lunar activities and ensure compliance with international law, including the Outer Space Treaty and other relevant treaties that have been signed before and are continuing to do so right now, as we said. So, by working together, countries can develop consensus based approaches to address legal issues such as property rights, intellectual rights, liability, and environmental protection also, because these need to be kept in mind. uh, Another thing is that the risk mitigation, like by coordinating efforts and sharing best practices, nations can minimize the duplication of efforts, enhance safety and reliability, and maximize the effectiveness of missions and operations. So the most important point of all these is peaceful and transparent exploration. So multilateral agreements such as the Artemis Accords, which we have discussed before, promote principles of peaceful cooperation, since it was drafted in, I think, somewhere around 2020, and so it incorporates all the things that we need to keep in mind when we are working on the international cooperation of lunar space policy program. And it promotes the principle of peaceful cooperation, transparency, and mutual respect in lunar activities. By establishing guidelines and norms for behavior in space, these accords help prevent misunderstandings and conflicts that might arise in future. And the militarization of the space, like for there are we as humans are very much greedy to take over whatever resources that we have in hand, and to prevent this militarization of space and fostering a stable and secure environment for exploration and cooperation becomes extremely essential. Now, whenever we discuss about the benefits and anything about any of the topic, we always need to get into the challenges that are faced and the outcomes that we need to get on to work that situation out. So the moon also experiences significant temperature. The challenges here would be that it experiences significant temperature variations, like ranging from about minus 173 degrees centigrade to during the lunar night, to around 127 degrees centigrade during the lunar day. And unlike the Earth, the Moon lacks a protective atmosphere and magnetic field, leaving its surface exposed to the solar and cosmic radiations. So, astronauts and equipment on the lunar surface are therefore vulnerable to high levels of radiation, which can pose health risks and affect the reliability of electronic components. Shielding technology and radiation monitoring systems are essential for mitigating these risks and ensuring the safety of lunar inhabitants. The lunar surface is covered in a layer of fine dust and rocky debris known as the regolith. So, the lunar regolith is highly abrasive and can pose challenges for equipment, habitats, and spacesuits. While the moon has lower gravity than Earth, about one-sixth of the Earth's gravity, these all still present unique challenges associated with microgravity environments. Now, while recent discoveries suggest the presence of water, ice, and other resources on the moon, extracting and utilizing these resources can also prove to be very difficult because of a significant technical change. Developing reliable extraction techniques and resource utilization is essential for long term lunar habitation. So, since we have discussed the challenges that we face here, what could be the innovative solutions that we could propose forward? So, to address the technical challenges, innovative solutions that could be proposed here could be something like this: that we can have advanced robotics and autonomous system implementation, like a robotic system equipped with advanced sensors, manipulators, and AI algorithms can autonomously perform tasks such as resource prospecting, excavation, and construction on the lunar surface. For resource extraction, robotic rovers equipped with drills and sampling tools can identify and extract water, ice, and other valuable resources from the lunar regolith. And autonomous mining operations can be conducted using robotic excavators and processing units, minimizing the need for human intervention and ensuring continuous resource extraction. The they can also be discussed the 3D printing technologies, and which offer a promising approach for constructing lunar habitats and infrastructure using locally available materials such as lunar regolith or melting basalt, which is easier to even excavate and get it right there, because we do not have to employ human resources or the resources or machineries from the earth, because transporting all those machineries would become and prove to be very difficult for us. Additive manufacturing techniques enable the on site fabrication of structural components, habitats, and even tools and spare parts, reducing the need for transporting bulky construction materials from Earth. And by leveraging 3D printing technologies, lunar colonies can rapidly deploy customizable and scalable habitats tailored to the specific needs and requirements of the lunar inhabitants. Now, the one of the most important points is that the radiation shielding materials, like shielding materials could be inclusive of the lightweight metals, polymers, or composite materials designed to absorb or deflect the ionizing radiation, reducing the exposure levels to safe levels. And incorporating natural lunar materials such as lunar regolith or basaltic salts into habitat structures can also provide additional radiation protection, leveraging the mass and composition of local resources to create shielding barriers. Uh, the last and one of the most important points would be the regenerative life support system. Now, what do we mean by the regenerative life support system? As we have already gone through the closed life support system, the regenerative life support system integrates biological, chemical, and physical processes to recycle air, water, and waste within lunar habit, and minimizing the reliance on external city supply missions and water purification systems, enabling closed loop recycling or resources, as we have already discussed about that before, and ensuring a sustainable inhabitants and reducing logistical burdens. The in situ resource utilization. The in situ resource utilization techniques enable the extraction and utilization of resources available on the surface of the moon. And the ISRU technologies include methods for extracting water ice from permanently shadowed regions, processing lunar regoliths for building materials, and producing propellants for lunar ascent and recent missions. Now, as we have discussed all the opportunities and challenges, the last two most important things that need to be discussed are the economic opportunities available to us and the scientific opportunities, research and available to all of us as humans. This goes without saying that it the lunar colonization presents a plethora of economic opportunities that extend far beyond the scientific exploration, and some might include the commercial mining operation. Like there are private companies that are exploring the feasibility of extracting and processing lunar resources for commercial purposes, and by leveraging advanced robotics, autonomous systems, and the in situ resource utilization techniques, these companies aim to establish profitable mining operation on the surface. Space-based industries with access to the moon's low gravity environment and abundant resources, companies can explore innovative manufacturing techniques and produce high-value products tailored for space applications, which include the production of advanced material components for spacecraft and satellites, and even pharmaceuticals and biotechnology research conducted in microgravity environments. Now, there are also new markets for lunar derived products and services, such as water, oxygen, and metals, can be sold to space agencies, research institutions, commercial entities for use in space missions, habitat construction, and so on. So, the development of lunar tourism and space based activities could also stimulate demand for lunar derived products and services, including accommodation, transportation services, and recreational activities for visitors to the moon. Now, moving on to the scientific research and innovation, we've already discussed something about that before, but just to give you an overview, would be the understanding of the lunar geology and composition. So, by analyzing again the lunar rocks, regolith, and surface features, scientists can unravel the geological processes that have shaped the lunar landscape and identify the potential resources such as water, ice, mineral, and metals that are present to us. Innovative technologies such as remote sensing, spectroscopy, and ground penetrating radar allow scientists to detect and quantify lunar resources from orbit and on the lunar surface, informing future exploration and resource utilization strategies. And innovation in propulsion systems, specifically robotics, material science, and life support technologies developed for lunar missions, have a broader application for space exploration, satellite technology, and terrestrial industries. So, by studying the lunar samples and conducting experiments on the lunar surface, scientists can address fundamental questions about the origins of the life, the habitability, and the of other celestial bodies, and the potential for panspermia, or if we could say in normal terms, the transfer of life between planets. So let's embark on a journey into the future of lunar colonization, a vision where the moon is not just a destination, but a thriving ecosystem of human activity and innovation. Like picture a landscape dotted with lunar habitats, research outposts, and bustling commercial enterprises, all working together to unlock the moon's full potential. Now, in this vision, lunar colonization offers a myriad of societal benefits. It's not just about planting flags and footprints, it's about expanding the boundaries of human knowledge and civilization. Now, imagine the breakthroughs in scientific discovery as researchers delve into the mysteries of lunar geology, study the effects of long term space habitation of the human body, and explore the possibilities of utilizing lunar resources for sustainable living both on the moon and back on the earth. But it doesn't stop here. Lunar colonization also drives the technological innovation, pushing the limits of what's possible in fields like robotics, materials, science, and space transportation, as we have discussed before. So, from autonomous mining robots scouring the lunar surface for valuable minerals to advanced 3D printing technologies constructing habitats from local resources, the possibilities are endless. And perhaps most importantly, lunar colonization will represent a giant leap from expansion of human civilization beyond the Earth. So it's about ensuring the survival of a species by establishing the footholds on another celestial body, and then mitigating the risk of planetary disasters and overpopulation. It's also about inspiring the future generations to dream big, to reach for the stars, and to imagine a future where the boundary of a world extend far beyond our wildest imagination. But to realize this vision right now, continued investment in space exploration and collaboration is a must and is extremely essential. So it's not enough to simply dream of a future among the stars. We must actively work together to make it a reality. So by pooling our resources, sharing our expertise, and embracing a spirit of cooperation, we can pave the way for a sustainable and prosperous future of humanity among the stars. The vision of sustainable lunar colonization is not just a distant dream, it's a tangible goal within our reach now. So let's continue to exchange ideas, share insights, and push the boundaries of what's possible. Let's ask tough questions, challenge conventional thinking, and inspire each other to think bigger and reach higher. Together, we have the opportunity to shape the future of space exploration and pave the way for a new era of human achievement. So let's embrace this journey with enthusiasm, curiosity, and determination, knowing that the stars are within our reach if we dare to reach for them. Thank you everyone for joining. If you might have any questions right now, you can ask them. Thank you.